hope everybody can hear me. We're just about before the hour, 12:56. I don't know if there's somebody from like Mike Murata on the line, or Naomi maybe. I just don't see a chat box where people would leave questions. Okay, great. Thank you, Jody. Do you hear me? That's great.
Do you see at the bottom of your screen there should be a chat box, or try doing an Alt-H? That sometimes brings up a chat box.
Alt-H?
Mm-hmm. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, yep, that does bring it up. But so let me see if I can move this so it's not right in the middle of my presentation.
Sometimes it's easier to have the, like, open up another section on a different device and have the chat box open on, like, have your presentation on one and the chat box on another.
Yeah, I don't have that capability.
Oh, okay. That was just a thought.
Yeah, but what did you say? Alt-H?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It should be along the bottom of the screen. If you don't see it, there should be 3 little dots that say more.
So I'll break that down. Yeah, it doesn't show under the more, but well, yes, then chat, I can do Alt-H there. Okay, I'll do it that way. So the plan is just at 1 o'clock, we'll just start, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you can see my screen and the closed captioning?
Actually, no, I can't. I wonder if other people can. I see it, but it's really tiny for some reason.
You see what?
Your screen, but it's like I'm in focus now. So maybe do a Alt-Tab. I don't know what other people are seeing.
Let's, so if people can hear us in the chat, would you tell me if you can see?
Because all I'm seeing right now is the screen off to the side.
Oh, so I wonder.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
people are saying they could see and hear fine.
Awesome.
Maybe it's on my end.
Awesome. Okay, great. All right, it's 1 o'clock, so I'm going to start. Welcome to the first annual New Jersey Assistive Technology Summit. I think this is such a great event, and thanks to the coordinators, Mike and Naomi, for putting all this lots of hard work together to put this on. So I'm Nanci Shepardson. I am a reading specialist and an assistive technology specialist, and I'm going to talk to you today about how we can use text-to-speech, speech-to-text, and word prediction tools to facilitate work completion. I'm just going to go back a little bit and just go over these. So I work for Wilson Language Training, and our mission at Wilson Language Training in a nutshell is to make sure that teachers have the tools that they need to meet the needs of the kids that are sitting in front of them. This is our participant agreement. You don't need to take any pictures or record because we're recording for you. And this is just our disclaimer that we have absolutely no connection to any of the tools that we're going to show you, that I'm going to show you today. No financial relationship, nothing. There's no connection between us and any of the tools I'm going to show you. Okay, here we go. Here's our title. So I'm not sure if you have a raise hand feature. I don't see it on my end, but here just in general, if you have any comments, put them in the chat. And then if I ask you to raise your hand, just remember to put it down so that they're not hands raised for the whole presentation. And you'll see that the closed captioning is on, it's live here. So if you're having any issues, start with refreshing your browser and closing out all other applications. And if you the handout is, I'm going to email to you. So in the Google Doc that is associated with this session, there is a sign up where you can leave me your name and your email. So if you want the handout, that's where you'll get all the information today. I don't share my slides because the handout really has everything the slides will have. So you don't need both. So again, just put your email address and I will make sure I will email you the handout today. Okay, so here's our agenda. We're going to talk about text-to-speech first. We're going to define it, and then we're going to look at what the research says, and then I'm going to show you a lot of different ways to access text-to-speech on a variety of platforms. Then we're going to talk about speech-to-text, same thing. We're going to look at the review of the research and then look at it at different devices. And then the same thing with word prediction. And then at the very end, I'm going to just quickly talk about the UPAR, which is an assessment tool to help you discern whether a student would do better with a screen reader or like a computerized voice versus a human read voice. And then hopefully we'll have some time for some questions at the end. This is meant to be a combination of pushing and pulling. So I'm going to show you some things, but then I'm also going to give you some links because it's impossible for me to know what tools you have. So I'm going to just give you information on everything I could find on all different devices and platforms. And then it's really going to be up to you to dive in and click on the links that I've sent you to learn about how you're going to activate these tools on the devices that you're working with. All right, so let's talk about the definition of text-to-speech. So text-to-speech, right, is just that. When you highlight something on the screen, your device will read whatever you have highlighted. That's the basic definition of text-to-speech. So text-to-speech, we're going to spend a little bit more time on text-to-speech than the other two just because it's been around longer. So text-to-speech started in the 80s, and we started to actually get some really good research in and around its efficacy starting in the 90s. So we've had a long time to really kick the tires, so to speak, for text-to-speech. So there's work from Gandhi, and his work is 2017, and his work showed that read-aloud accommodations benefit struggling readers. There is work by Gruner and Ostberg, Hedgenes in 2017, that shows how text-to-speech improves reading rate and comprehension. There is kind of mixed reviews on the research as far as how text-to-speech benefits students with ADHD. Some research shows that it is beneficial, some says it's not. Some says that it's beneficial, text-to-speech is more beneficial for students who are younger as opposed to students that are older. And then some of the interesting things that I also read about is that the idea that your silent reading rate is connected to how text-to-speech will work for you. So if you have a really quick silent reading rate, you might find that text-to-speech is cumbersome. It doesn't really do a lot for you. So you want to keep that in mind when you're thinking about using this with kids. But in general, students, with text-to-speech find that obviously their rate improves, their comprehension improves because they're not burning all the cognitive calories decoding the words. They have less fatigue and they're feeling more empowered because they're getting this work done by themselves. They're not relying on an adult or a caregiver to support them. And it's allowing them to get things done faster. And there is in the handout a really interesting article, excuse me, from Bookshare, and it talks about the difference between human-read text-to-speech versus computerized text-to-speech. And basically this article from Understood talks about how they're both very good. They both work for kids. And bottom line is that text-to-speech, regardless if it's human-read or computerized, is helpful. But you definitely want to take into consideration the needs of your student. And there are students that just really get tuned out by the computerized voice. So you want to customize it accordingly. There was a really great meta-analysis done by Sarah Wood and her colleagues in 2018, and she basically reviewed with her team just everything she could get her hands on around the research around text-to-speech. And these are kind of the highlights, right? That talk about that you want to make sure that in good text-to-speech programming, you can change the rate, meaning the speed of how quickly something is read. You want to be able to change the voice easily, so you don't get what I call this Charlie Brown effect. So you get that wah, and it gets very monotonous, and then students start to tune out. So you want to be able to switch up the voice. You want to be able to tag the document so you don't have to figure out where you left off. you want to make sure the program has the ability to highlight words. And I don't mean highlighting the words as you're reading along. There's actually some research by Jennifer Keeler that talks about how that's actually not beneficial for students, but you do want it to have the ability to highlight a phrase or a sentence or a paragraph or a word that you might want to go back and think about more later, or you want to define, or in some way you want to maybe embed it in a written response. And you also want to make sure that you have really good access to tech support, so that the tool that you're using has usable and accommodating and approachable tech support. And in general, Busk and Stone found that there is, as a testing accommodation, that all students benefit from the read aloud accommodation when in a testing situation. So that's kind of a quick review of the research. Here are some rules of the road when we're thinking about using text-to-speech. So the big thing, and this is going to be the case for text-to-speech, speech-to-text, and word prediction, is that you have to give students ample time to practice using these tools when there is no looming deadline, right? There's nothing more frustrating for to teach a kid a new cool tool, and they kind of get caught up in learning how to use that tool, and then they realize 2 hours have gone by and they haven't actually done any work on an assignment, and then they panic. So you want to really pick the time and the place where there's not a lot going on, so that they can play around with it and really just be able to master the tool. And then once they feel comfortable, they've got automaticity and fluency with that tool, then they can apply it to the work that they need to get done. So make sure you model when you're using text-to-speech. Show kids how to use it. Make sure you teach them how to change the voices. I've had a lot of really good luck matching different voices with different genres. So students will pick a certain voice for reading a science textbook, then they'll pick a different voice for let's say a history textbook, etc. So that's I have found that to be a really effective strategy when I'm using text-to-speech. And then you want to think about teaching kids how to be metacognitive when they're using the text-to-speech, for them to stop and say to themselves, okay, what's my goal? What's my goal for this assignment? Is it to review, or is it to tackle brand new content? And so based on whatever their objective is, they're going to want to go in and know how to change the rate of the speed in which something is being read. Most kids will slow it down when they're reading something for the very first time. And then the other kids will speed it up when they're just reviewing something that they just want to hear one more time. So you want to teach those metacognitive skills when you're using any of these tools that we're going to talk about. So here's a link from understood.org. It's how to turn on the text-to-speech on your cell phone. So I'm not going to click on this link because we are so short on time today, but it's all in your handout, and you can just click this link and it will give you, it's a wonderful article by Jamie Martin out of understood.org that tells you step-by-step how to do it. Here is how you do text-to-speech in OneNote. So you can see on the screen, I circled in black, that's the icon you see when you turn text-to-speech on in OneNote. But in order to turn it on, where that blue arrow is on your screen, that's what you're going to click to give you a drop-down menu. And what you want to do is customize your quick access toolbar by adding the circled icon to your quick access toolbar. So you do that by when you, in the choose commands, you go to all commands, and then when you scroll down, you click the speak command and select it, and then you add it. And then you hit OK. So it's important to hit OK. And then you will get this icon that you see that I've circled in black. And then when you are in OneNote, you'll be able to access that to make text-to-speech go on in OneNote. Here is text-to-speech in Read&Write. I love Read&Write, and this comes from Text Help, which is one of my favorite groups anywhere. They just do wonderful work. So you can see that text-to-speech in Read&Write is the top in the purple box you'll see there, reading and writing tools, text-to-speech. It reads the words, the passages, the whole document aloud with easy to follow dual color highlighting. But it also has text and picture dictionaries built into it. It has a talk and type, so it has a dictation feature. And then it has a check it feature, which helps you do review for capitalization, punctuation, verb tense, homophones, etc. So Read&Write is a really great tool. It is free. There is a free version for teachers. It doesn't have quite all the bells and whistles that the paid version has, but it really is a good option. So, and then here, if you have a MacBook or an Apple-based computer, this is how you are going to turn on your text-to-speech that's built into the operating system on a Mac-based product. So you're going to go to the black Apple, or in some cases it's a white Apple. It's usually in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. And you're going to click the Apple, and that will bring you to this pane where you'll see System Preferences. And then once you open System Preferences, you'll see this little blue guy in the circle for accessibility. So you want to click on that accessibility circle. And once you do that, you're going to get to a screen that looks like this. And there is the word speech. You'll click on this. And I know I'm going fast. Don't worry. There's an entire video in your handout that you can play 100 times if this is going too fast for you. So you will click speech. And then when you do that, you'll get to a screen here. And so this is where you can choose your voice. So you'll see system voices. I've chosen Alex. You can see the toggle bar for your speaking rate. And this is where kids would go in and change the rate, right? Bump it up to have it go more quickly, slow it down if you're reading something for the first time. But the way you turn it on is you have to come down and click that box, speak selected text when the key is pressed, and then you set the key. So you would click change key and you decide what you want your shortcut keys to be to turn it on or to turn it off. It's the same function keys to turn on or to off. I recommend Control T because it won't make your computer do anything else. I did set it once on my daughter's computer with Shift T, which of course makes a capital T, and that was not a good move. So that is how you turn it on a Mac computer. So I just want to go to the chat because I see that there are some questions. So I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Right, so, okay, it looks like you've answered your own questions. Okay, great. Come back and X out of that. Okay. So now on a PC, it's not quite as simple, and it was really hard for me to teach you this one because so many PCs are different from each other. But in general, if you go to the control panel and just click on speech recognition, which you can see on this bottom right-hand side, there's a blue arrow there. So you'll click on speech recognition. And once you do that, you get to a screen that looks like this. And on the upper left-hand side, it'll say text to speech. And again, there's a video for you for this, so don't worry. I'm gonna go through it quickly so we cover everything, but you can go back and look at the videos. So once you click text to speech, you'll get a screen that looks like this. And so this is where you can choose your voice. So in this screenshot, the voice was David, but then you can also see voice speed. That's where you would add or be able to toggle the speed. You always just want to make sure that once you do that, you then go, and I'm just going to use my highlighting tool here. Make sure you go and click. Oops, it's not highlighting. I have to change the color. Hold on one second. There we go. So here, this is where the apply button is. So you want to make sure you click apply, because if you don't click apply, it won't work. So that's how you do it on most PCs. Again, there are resources in the handout that will give you other ways to view different videos on how to turn it on, depending on what kind of PC you have. If you have a Chromebook and you want to add a text-to-speech extension, you just go to the Google Chrome browser and you click on the apps icon in the upper left-hand corner, which that'll bring you to the web store. And the web store, depending on your computer, the icon for that can be in different locations on your screen. It just depends on your setup, but you'll see it, the web store icon. And so you just click on the web store icon, and then you just search text-to-speech in the search box, and it will bring up a bunch of different options. So like this is an example where I put text-to-speech in the search box, and it brought me up these 3 options. And so there are many more than this, and you just really want to pick the one that works the best for your student. But I always really make sure to really encourage students to look at the ratings. Like for example, this top one has 3 stars, but over 3,000 people rated it, where the second one has 4 stars, but only 1,222 people rated it. So you just want to keep that in mind, that sometimes more stars doesn't necessarily mean it's better, depending on how many people have actually rated it. So that's how you add extensions to you pick which one you want. And then once you do that, depending on which one, in your Chrome toolbar at the top, you'll see the icon for text-to-speech. And then, oh, let me go back. And so you'll just click that, you'll highlight what you want read, you click that little speaker, and it will read it to you out loud on a Chromebook. If you are in Word, this is what your ribbon would look like. So you'll see kind of the fourth icon from the left. It says read aloud. So you just click that, and then it will bring up this second little box, and you'll see it will allow you to adjust the reading speed, and you can pick the voice. In this particular screenshot, I picked the voice David. So it's really quite easy to activate in Microsoft Word. And in Google Docs, at the top of your document, you'll see the words add-ons. And once you click on add-ons, you just will pick the reader, and you want to add that on, and then you will open the reader. And then once you do that, you'll get a box like this. And for me, it shows up on the far right side of my screen, but I have actually seen it on other people's computers where it's not on the far right. So I'm not sure, it kind of lands where it has a mind of its own as to where it will land. But what I like about this is that right there on the screen, there you can control the volume. That's the top one. The very top one is where you can pick your voice. And then you have the volume, and then the little bike represents the speed, and the little musical note represents the pitch, which has been really useful for some kids. They change the pitch a little bit, and it makes it less annoying, less computerized. And then that bottom one, it just allows you to review, have it go back and reread what you've highlighted. The only thing that I think is kind of interesting about this in Google Docs is to activate it, you have to press that red button with the glasses. And I just think, the red icon is kind of counterintuitive because that kind of means stop, but that is how you turn it on, is by clicking that red button. So then there are outside vendors for text-to-speech. These are my top 5. Bookshare and Learning Ally, you do have to have a documented learning disability. Bookshare is free. Learning Ally is not, but it generally is purchased by the school district. And then Project Gutenberg is free, and it's generally a place used for books that are older, where their copyright has expired. But there are over 60,000 free ebooks in the Project Gutenberg site now. So there's lots and lots of opportunity there to find something in a digital format that can be used. You can use your text-to-speech to play it. And then these bottom two I just love. I just love Libby and Sora. So both of these apps are made by the same company. The company's Overdrive. Sora aligns with your class public school library, and Libby corresponds with your public town library. And it basically, as long as you have a library card, you can download these free apps. You take a picture of your library card, and then whatever digital books they have, books on tape that they have, audiobooks, then you can check them out, just like you're checking out like a library book. It's fabulous, and they're all human read. Many have sound effects and music, and they're really quite engaging. So more for trade books, right, than textbooks for sure. But To Kill a Mockingbird, or The Giver, or all these wonderful books that kids read, all of those books are there using these free apps, as long as your library has a copy of them. And many of these libraries do interlibrary loans, so if they don't have it, they can often find it for you. And then this is the handheld tool. This is the C Pen. The picture of here is the one is actually the exam version. So that's the one that doesn't have an internet connection. So there's no way a student can access the internet when taking an exam. But then there's also another version that has a connection to the internet that allows you to look up words and has built-in dictionaries. And you basically just take the pen and just scan over the print, and it reads it out loud to you. And it comes with earbuds, so if you're in a room with other people, nobody hears it other than you. It has a note-taking feature that I really like. And so there are, the link, I believe, to this a video that is a really great video that they just came out with is in the Google Doc for this session that you can click on. So, and then Seeing AI is an app from Microsoft that is completely free. Again, the link to getting to it is in your handout. And what it does is it basically is using the camera of your phone, you take a picture of anything that you can't read, and the Seeing AI, among other things, will read it to you. It's a very robust app. It does all sorts of really cool things, but for the purpose of this presentation, it does great text-to-speech. So if you're at a restaurant, you want to have a menu read to you, or it also translates information. So if you're in a foreign country, you can take a picture of a sign that you don't know what it means, and it will translate it. It's just really amazing. And then here are a list of resources that are all about text-to-speech that come from Jamie Martin. Jamie Martin is from the New England Assistive Technology Center in Hartford, Connecticut. And he graciously allowed me to share these with you. So all these bit.lys are in your link, and they're more information about all the things that I just talked to you about. Okay, so now we're gonna shift gears and talk about speech to text. So speech to text is when the student speaks, and whatever tool you're using types for the student. So really, really powerful for our kids with dysgraphia, and also just the kids that struggle getting started. If they can use their voice to get started, there's nothing more daunting than the blank page, and it just gets rid of the blank page. So the research around speech to text, the one study that I did find was 2014, so relatively recent, and they did talk about how with speech to text, there's a low recognition rate of homophones. That's one of the big limitations, but it's improving. It's definitely improving. And it is hard when there is more than one speaker. So if the two different kids are trying to dictate at the same time, speech to text generally doesn't tend to work quite as well. Just like I talked about with text to speech, is that training is essential. But to quote the study, it found that speech to text enables students to better understand content of academic activities, to confirm missed parts of speech, to take notes, to complete homework, and to prepare for exams. That comes from page 75 of the study. And I also talked about specifically students with cognitive or physical disabilities. It served as an effective tool to write and record their speech. And in some cases, the application of speech to text actually enhanced the students' basic reading, spelling, and writing skills. And that came from page 71 of this study. So that's some promising research. And so now I'm going to turn this off and hopefully be able to play a video for you. I want to, okay.
In order to turn on dictation, speech to text, go to the black apple in your system preferences. Then you're going to go down to this keyboard and select dictation. I'm going to turn it on, and then you can decide what shortcut you want to make dictation start. So I have pressed the function key twice. So then, now that it's on, I can go to my document. I'm going to press the FN key twice. And now I can start dictating, and it will type for me. And that's how you set up dictation. And you press done.
Okay, so that's a video, and there's a link to that video in your handout as well. This is I found to be just a super powerful tool for students, especially in the area of writing. Speech to text on a PC, as usual, is not quite as clean as it is on a Mac-based product, but here are two links that will help you turn it on within your PC product. One comes directly from Microsoft, and one is a Loom video that I made for you. So you can click on those if that's the kind of device you're trying to learn how to use speech to text on. And then if you want to use speech to text in Word, this is the tool, your ribbon at the top, and you'll see on the very far right side of your ribbon when you have a Microsoft Office document open, there is that dictate button. And you just click that, and you just start talking, and it will type for you. And in fact, I did a session this morning on note-taking, and in the web-based version, they've just actually added a transcribe option, which is really exciting. That isn't available on the desktop yet, but I guess it's coming in the near future. So that's going to be a great addition as well. So in Google Docs, here are 2 links to turn speech to text on in Google Docs, and I also made you a Loom video there, turning that on in on my device, so you can see how I did that. And then this is a link on how you can get to it through your speech to text on your iPhone or your iPad from LifeWire. And this is how you do it for your Android device. This is a link from Android on how you do live transcription. And then there are a couple of apps, actually I should say there's more than a couple. So I gave you a link here about the kind of the best apps for transcribing, going from speech to text. But the one that I have found that is really easy and it's completely free is Otter AI. And I actually put this on my 82-year-old mother's cell phone. She's very hard of hearing. And so now what she does is she turns on Otter AI when we're having family Zoom calls. You know, in this pandemic, we don't get to see each other very often, so we connect every week. And so she'll put her phone down and put turn the Otter app on, and then and it will just make a transcription of the conversation. And so, because she misses things, and so she can then go back and read it and see if she wanted to review anything. So it's just a real world application. So lots of really exciting options in the zone of speech to text. And then finally, we're doing okay on time. Okay, so word prediction. Okay, so what is word prediction? So basically it's when a child types or the student types a word, the prediction, the software detects the letters that are being typed, and after a few letters, it makes a prediction about what they think the word is that you're trying to spell might be. So this is, you can see this little guy going, oh no, I don't know how to spell the word. And then the student typed in a few words, and on my screen you can see it predicted, are you looking for the word world, words, or work? And then the student just picks the word that they want, and then they can just keep going. So it's really empowering for students. And there is a link here that's in your handout from understood.org on the basics of word prediction, again by Jamie Martin. That's really helpful if you are new to word prediction. And the research, there's 2 good studies in and around the research. And you know what they talk about is that students with specific learning disabilities tend to get lost in the weeds when it comes to writing. And in fact, they tend to want to ignore the writing process, and they get over-focused on their spelling or over-focused on their punctuation. They struggle to kind of balance the organization of thoughts and generating coherent written work. And so in these studies, they talk about how word prediction alone and in combination with text-to-speech had a positive impact on the participants' writing. With variation with word prediction alone and with text-to-speech, participants in both cohorts wrote longer, more syntactically mature compositions that were better organized and had fewer spelling errors. So again, you've got to teach kids to use this when there is no looming deadline. Another quote from the study is that the relative effectiveness of word prediction on various aspects of the writing process for some students with writing difficulties, as compared to word processing alone, word prediction, regardless of the software, was effective in improving written spelling accuracy as measured by the proportion of words spelled correctly for all of the participants in the study. So in both cohorts, everybody benefited. So that's really promising, promising research in and around the use of word prediction. So how do we turn it on? So here is word prediction on a PC. There's a link here, but this is also in your handout. And you'll see on the bottom right side of your screen, you'll see show text suggestions as I type. So you want to make sure that that is on. And again, there's a video on how you find this in your handout. So word prediction and text suggestions are synonymous. So PC uses text suggestion. So if you're looking for word prediction, you have to use that terminology. Here is word prediction on a MacBook. That's a YouTube video that shows you how to turn it on. And then same thing, how you turn it on for the iPad or in your iPhone. And so it's very similar on both devices. And if you could picture, if you're on an iPad and you can see the keyboard, if you can picture it, usually what the word prediction is like there is the word, there's a kind of a bar of words as you're typing, and then you can just click the word rather than spell the whole word out. It ends up like kind of like a little ticker on top of your keyboard when you're on your phone and or your iPad. And then these are 2 links on Android options and Samsung options for word prediction for these kinds of tools. And then these are the commercial products. So the commercial products are Co-Writer by Don Johnston, and it is pricey. I did use this at the school that I was at prior to coming to Wilson, and it was really effective. And what I love about the Co-Writer is their built-in dictionaries that are content-oriented. So let's say you have a student that wants to write about dinosaurs. They've got pre-loaded dictionaries specifically all around the vernacular around dinosaurs. Or they might be doing something on marine mammals or whatever the topic might be. So it's really great to have that sophisticated dictionary so that when you go to, you know, some word prediction tools are not going to perhaps predict Tyrannosaurus Rex, but through this product and these customized dictionaries, it does predict those words for the students. It can get a little glitchy in that it will generate 5 options of the words that they think the student is going for. And all the student then needs to do is, so say the number 2 word is what the student wanted, then the student just needs to go and press number 2 on their keyboard and it populates the word. So for students that are kind of really good, they have really sound keyboarding skills, then that can kind of be confusing for them. So you just have to really, you know, weigh that when you're deciding on the product. And like I mentioned earlier when we were talking about text-to-speech, the word prediction built into Read&Write is fantastic as well. And so here's a link for you to access to look into how you do that on Read&Write, which again is free for teachers. Then there's Immersive Reader, which is completely free. I love Immersive Reader. It's a product by Microsoft. It is built into all Microsoft products. The syllabication tool built into Immersive Reader is a little off at times, so you want to make sure you monitor that. But it does have great word prediction built into it. And then there's this product called Got It, where they will give you a 30-day trial. And this is a company based in Israel that has created basically a word processing platform specifically for students with dyslexia, developed by a man who has dyslexia, and it really has a great sophisticated software for analyzing spelling patterns and helping students with dyslexia with the writing process. There is a link in the Google Doc for this session to their Chrome extension, which is not in your handout because that just became available just a few days ago. And then lastly, there is the UPAR. So this is an assessment tool. So this image comes from Sharon Plant, who is a colleague of mine, who also does a lot of work around literacy and assistive technology. And this is an assessment that you can give to students that compares when they read silently versus when they use a human audio text-to-speech or a text reader, so a computerized voice. And it shows the student how their comprehension is impacted depending on which way they are reading. So you can see on this page, the student was reading at the 4th grade level when this person was reading silently, independently. But when we gave the student the human audio with the text, all of a sudden, now this kid has a 92% accuracy at the 6th grade level with a human voice, but 100% accuracy with a computerized voice. So this can really give you powerful information and data on which accommodation is going to work best for your student. And I think it's also really fun to share this with kids. Like, look at how this tool helps you. This is amazing. Look at this. When you read it on your own silently, you were reading at the 4th grade level, but when you had a human audio, you at the 12th grade level, you got, you understood 75%. Like, that's really exciting to show kids, how competent they really are. So there is a paid version for the electronic version of UPAR, but there's also a free paper version that you can download directly from the Don Johnston site. So that is the UPAR. So this is how you reach me. Don't call my direct line because I'm not there a lot of the time, still working mostly remotely. This is my Twitter handle. And so you can always reach out to me via email or through Twitter. I am going to go to the chat and just see if we have any questions. Maybe not. Let's see. Okay, any questions? Yep, so all I'm seeing is that people are looking for the link to the presentation, which everything from the presentation is in the handout. And again, if you put your name on the Google Doc associated with this session, give me your email address, I will email you. So it is 1:37, we have about 5 minutes. So if there are any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat now. And if not, thanks so much for participating and hanging in there. And again, thanks to Mike Murata and his crew for putting on this great day. And I'll just hang here for a little bit if you have any questions.
May I ask a question? Are these particular products in the therapeutic schools, or are these being considered? I'm starting the therapeutic school journey with my son in high school, but so I'm just looking to make sure I have all the right information. Thank you.
Yeah, so the question is, are these tools available in a therapeutic environment? Yes, if as long as they have, any kind of computer or any kind of device, these can be used in a therapeutic environment for sure. Depending on a student's profile, these accommodations can be written into a 504 or to an IEP to help facilitate work completion. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Oh, so this is cool. People can just shout out. So go ahead, shout out. Harrison, thank you.
Hi, I have a question.
Yes.
Thinking about, are there any free text-to-speech tools for to read a PDF other than the read aloud, that's built into the Adobe Reader?
Well,
And the reason why I'm asking this question is that I sometimes share, PDFs with students, and they if they don't have any other technology besides that read aloud doesn't really offer many functions. I don't even think you can change the rate on it. Just the basic Adobe Reader.
right.
Yeah, is there any way to any free programs that would read a PDF and allow more customization?
Not that I know of off the top of my head. However, I feel like there's got to be a workaround for that. I mean, like you said, you can use what's built into your operating system to read it, as long as the PDF can be. But the key is that the text has to be highlightable, right? Which I know is not a real word, but you know what I mean.
Selectable,
right?
yeah.
Right. So
Selectable.
you and then I also wonder if it's a locked PDF, right? You're not going to be able to cut and paste.
What
But
about,
if it's not a locked PDF, then they could cut and paste the content into a Word document, and then they could just use Word to read it, or they could put it into a Google Doc and use the read aloud feature within Google Doc.
I got that. I was also thinking maybe because Chrome is also a PDF viewer, you could maybe open it in Chrome and use an extension.
Yep.
So yeah, and then I just saw somebody just somebody just offered an option of Claro voice. Yep.
So you could use, you could use the immersive reader, and then so you could actually use somebody put in via Office Lens or Claro Speak, but also you could use, so Office Lens is another free app by Microsoft that could read the PDF out loud to the student, assuming they have a phone or a tablet that has, where you can install apps on it. But also Seeing AI could read a PDF by just, aiming the camera of the phone at the PDF, and then Seeing AI would read it out loud. And that's a totally free app.
That's true. That's a great option as well. I know that there are commercial things that would do this, things like Kurzweil would do this, right? And
Right.
Capti as
Yes.
well.
But
So,
all of which are not free.
right.
Yeah.
That's what I found out quickly as well.
Yep, and I see a question about reading emails out loud. So if the email is highlightable, then you can use any of the tools that I just shared, using the built-in options into the operating system of your computer. So yes, emails can definitely be read out loud. And then yep, Claro PDF is an app also that is really good for reading PDFs, going back to that previous question. Okay, anything else? I think we have about 3 minutes. What if it says like marketing emails where there's an image? Well, technically marketing emails with images should be alt tagged. So you should be able to use a screen reader with that. But not all people are developing, like our keynote at lunchtime, talking about accessibility. There's still a lot of work to be done, making sure that things are alt tagged so that screen readers can read images. But you would use a screen reader to read images if they have been formatted correctly. Okay, well, thank you everybody for being here. Make sure to put your email in that Google Doc so I can send you the handout. So you have all the links to the things we talked about. And there are also 2 links in the Google Doc that are not in the handout that you can click on that will be up I think Mike is planning on leaving that spreadsheet up for quite some time. But don't give me your email in the chat. I won't be able to get it that way. You need to put the email in the Google Doc that's associated with this session, please. All right, have a great day, everybody. Thanks so much.